Hey, today we're going to talk about the mysterious solution to what is swing plane. Hey, welcome to the channel today. Listen, one of the things that I think is really good to understand about the single plane swing is understanding swing plane. And I'll tell you a quick story about my history as a player and as an instructor is so much related to swing plane, because when I was on my quest, maybe like you, to become a better golfer, which meant to me hitting a golf ball longer and straighter and better and more consistently, which is very important because I wanted to play good golf and play well, is I started working with some of the best instructors in the world, and I landed with people that were talking about swing plane. Swing plane is a pretty easy concept to understand, but I think it gets kind of mixed up. And the question becomes, why is swing plane important? And what is it? And what is the easiest way to accomplish what everybody's calling swing plane, and what's the purpose of it anyway? So let's talk about that today. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is the swing plane changes in a golf swing. Maybe you already know that, but the concept of that might be kind of unfamiliar with some of you. But the reason swing plane changes is because of this. When you look at this 6-iron, for example, this 6-iron has a certain lie angle and a certain length. It is on this plane. That's the way this 6-iron is designed. So based on its length, it has a particular lie angle, and so when you set that club down, it has a particular angle in a plane. So that is the plane of this 6-iron. Now, if you take my driver, it's a much longer club, and you can see that it's on a much flatter plane. That's the plane of this club. So every club has a separate plane, has its own plane because of its length. Now, the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because swing plane is dictated by the club. This is where the swing plane starts. Now, let me ask you this question, and this is a common sense question. It only makes sense that what we should do is take this club based on the way it's designed and planed and return it to its plane. So this 6-iron needs to be swung on its plane. For example, you don't want to take the 6-iron and strike a golf ball on this plane, and I'll explain that in a second. You don't want to strike it on this plane. It's not designed. It is designed to be square on this plane. So the question then, we can back that out one more step, is say, what's the easiest way to move this golf club to return it to its plane? Again, here's the plane at impact. If I want to return this club to its plane at impact, I've got to basically say, what's the easiest way to start and return this club to its design, right? Okay, that's what I want to get into today. So we need to talk about swing plane, but we need to talk about the design of a golf club, and then we're going to back that out one step further. Now, my goal is to take this 6-iron and swing it so that when I take it back, it returns this club to its ideal length and plane. Now, doesn't it make sense that when I set up with this on the plane and I move into a backswing, so wouldn't it make sense that I set the club on its plane that it's designed to hit on? In other words, why would I start the club here when it's designed to hit here? Now, this is what we call dynamic versus static. I want to start the club and impact it where I started. So there is a subsequent body position to that. Here's what I mean by that. Notice that I'm going to match my arm position and my body position to the plane of the golf club so that I can take the club back and then return it back down to its original plane. Now, that is so common sense that many people ask me, well, Todd, why doesn't everybody swing the club that way? Well, there's a lot of truth to that, but let's take this a step further. Let's talk about backswing plane. So now, if I said to you, we're going to start this club on its design so we can hit it the way it's designed, makes a lot of sense. But we also, during our swing, need to move the club in a way to where it planes here, and then as it comes down, it planes here. So it's on plane, it's referencing this plane the entire motion. It even references the plane on the way through. Why? Why do we want the club planing here, all the way here, and all the way through? So we call this the single plane swing. Why do we want it referencing this original plane the entire time? And the reason is because the body component, how the body works, it's the easiest, most efficient way for the body to move this club. I call it less deviation, less shaft deviation, but it's because there's less body movement. And I'll just give you a couple examples of this. If I take this club back and I take it to here, that position of the club, and it actually, this is really interesting because this feels very weightless. This club feels like it's not very heavy. If I flatten that plane, you notice I had to rotate the arm. That arm rotation going this way, which would flatten the plane. Now you can rotate it here, there's a lot of problems with that. But if I get the club flat to the plane, you'll notice that I cannot strike a golf ball with this club on this plane. I must steepen this plane. So notice that my hands and arms have to go to a rotated position. Let's say I make a mistake and I do that. I have to then rotate this way. Notice the rotation this way brings the club over top of the plane, over top of where the path of the club is, and I hit the outside part of the ball. We could talk for days about the cause and effect of when you're not on plane. My point here is, when I plane the golf club correctly at address, starting the club on its design, and I put it on its proper plane, this is the most efficient motion of the body and the most efficient motion of the club to return it back to its impact plane. So the goal here is to make the most efficient body motion possible so the club can move the most efficient way possible. Why? To get to impact the most consistently. So let's just kind of understand that. Watch this for just as I go through this. So I'm setting the club. This is just all single plane, the single plane swing concepts. And by the way, at no point in this entire video did I say it has to travel up and down this path. That is not how it works. And there's reasons for that, because it's the body's rotated differently here than in the downswing. So I'm not asking you to say the club moves up and down this imaginary plane. What I'm saying is the club is designed like this. I'm going to move my body in a way that keeps it in its design. Notice that club is on the same plane as I started, and I'm going to return it to that same plane. So it's referencing this plane because that's the most efficient use of the body, starting and impacting on the same plane. And you'll find that when you do it correctly, even on the way through, the club is even planed here. So it still references the plane here. So this is the most efficient use of the body. And you can even test this. It's really interesting how you can test this. Take a video camera, and you don't even have to have a golf club to do this. You could just take a stick. And I want you to take one hand. I want you to point the stick at something, hit something, and just swing at it. Just swing it one-handed like this. And you'll notice that stick goes onto this plane, and that plane matches the plane you start. And I can do it left-handed as well. I can do it either side of my body. If I swing something one-handed, I always swing it on plane. So why? Here's the question, and I'll kind of conclude with this. Why would you ever start in an address position that is not going to be in the impact plane position if you're trying to simplify your golf swing? I'm not saying you can't hit a golf ball that way, but you'll never be the most efficient golfer possible. So the easiest way is with a single plane swing, where you start, and during the motion of the swing, you'll see the club reference the plane here, here, there, and then there. You're going to see this, what we call the single plane. It's referencing the design of the golf club, and that's exactly what swing plane is all about, is how this club is designed.